Twin Ring Motegi, host to major events from MotoGP to IndyCar to NASCAR and everything in between. A pair of circuits that are able to suit any car. This week, we take the Lotus 49s to the road course with plenty of hairpins and plenty of speed between them for week 4 of the Grand Prix Legends season. Hi, I'm Chad Irvine. Here with me today is Ryan Walker. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and cameras are provided, as always, by Dougie Beard. Daytona gave us some superb racing with a couple of the closest battles we've ever seen in iRacing history. We can't let those close finishes stop us from talking about some fantastic racing that we expect to see here in today's race. Let's step aside for a moment and take a look at this week's track guide.
Welcome to Twin Ring Motegi. This well-known Japanese racing facility located roughly 2 hours north of Tokyo gets its name from the fact that it has both an oval and a road course that can be run. But a unique feature of this track is that instead of having a roval layout, the road course is entirely separate from the oval circuit. On top of that, drivers have 3 different road courses to choose from in the form of the Grand Prix, East, and West circuits. While not totally devoid of elevation change, the track is relatively flat. What distinguishes the place the most is the combination of plenty of long straights heading into heavy braking zones. This means that passing opportunities abound. With it being built in 1996, it has most of the qualities you'd expect from a modern road course, including flat curbs, a fair amount of runoff, and multiple pit complexes. Oddly, because of the oval, the track includes night lighting for a portion of the road circuit. Though there isn't much notable about most of the turns, one of the more distinctive corners is the final chicane on the Grand Prix course. Leading out of a tunnel that returns you to the oval infield, it's kinked on entry and it tightens greatly at the second apex. This makes pushing the limits of this corner extremely tough, and it often catches drivers out. Though international series such as IndyCar and MotoGP have held rounds at the track, today it is mainly used for local open wheel and GT series. Still, the one-of-a-kind experience offered to drivers and fans at this circuit is sure to keep people coming back for years to come.
Three weeks into this season, we've seen some incredible racing so far. Ryan, what should we expect to see here in week number 4 at Twin Ring Motegi?
Yeah, this fantastic 2.98 mile Motegi track has been around for quite some time, and it's got a bit of history as well with regards to the series that I've visited here. You name it, it's been here. IndyCar has been here, NASCAR has been here, MotoGP, Super GT, and yeah, you name it, it's been here. And today it will be host to the Grand Prix Legends series, and we will be using the Grand Prix layout with what's got 14 turns, and I think these drivers are going to have a rather fun time, and the passing zones around here are going to be turn 1, turn 3, turn 5, turn 10, and turn 11, and the danger zones is pretty much almost everywhere else, and especially that twisty section heading up to the final corner.
Yeah, it's very interesting taking a look at our track map. There's so many long straightaways here that can really kind of lull you into a false sense of security. The braking points can be very difficult and very hard to get right, especially in cars like this. But as we continue on through week 4 now of this season, we've got a couple of championships to talk about. And the Formula One F1 championship is still very close, with Rob Olenek up to a 15-point lead over Topi Courtniemi, who both of those guys have been alternating wins so far this season. Then Mick Claridge, 3 third-place finishes. Hopefully he can improve on that one today. And then Bill Tyler, 30 points off your leader, and Ove Trungrade, 39 points back.
Absolutely, and the F2 Championship, that's currently being led by Finland's Pekka Risto, and he's currently followed by another Finnish driver in second, Heikki Koivisto, who's only 1 point behind, so getting pretty close at the top of that championship, with Emmanuel Pereira from France rounded out the top 3. Andre Schumacher currently in 4th, with Andrew M from the United States rounding out the top 5. So at the moment, the F2 Championship still really close at the moment, but at the moment it's currently battled out by the 2 Finns.
And then we also have the Nations Cup here in the Grand Prix Legends, with the United States sitting there pretty at 145 points, and the slimmest of margins back to the Finnish drivers, only 5 points behind. Then the UK 25 points back, Norway and France wrapping up the top 5. And Ryan, it's been so much fun, and the rules are the same as every week, but why don't you walk us through the race details for today?
Absolutely. So this is the 4th round of the 12-round season in the Grand Prix Legends series. The race length for today will be 19 laps with a standing start, and then the setup rather is open, so you're free to make any changes, with the incident limit being 17x, and you will be a penalty, or if you get to 25x, you will be disqualified from the race.
And we haven't seen any driving that would lead to those disqualifications yet. Here's a look at Mick Claridge. We're sporting the number 1 week and just starting his first lap. We've seen him start up front and run up front the last couple of weeks. Unfortunately for him, he just can't find a way to hold it together at the end of the race. Chris Murakami, we've seen him a couple of times this week. He's getting ready to complete, I believe, his first lap. He's got just a couple of corners here to go, and this is a spot on the racetrack. It's a very long, sweeping hairpin. And then you go down this very long straightaway, and this is the braking zone. I think that's one of the hardest ones to get right. It's the longest straightaway on the track.
Yeah, this is one of those corners that you're going downhill and you're pretty much going quick as well. So it's easy to make a mistake, right? Like lock up, or even if you're trying to make a move on someone, it's easy to run wide. As Murakami's coming through the final few corners now, and they're heading onto the home straight.
And off the final corner and across the line, and he turns in 148.031. So that's a good start there for Rob Olenek across the line. He's going to go 3 seconds faster, absolutely flying out there for Rob with the 144.7, and more drivers starting to get their times in. Topi about a half a second off, and he's doing a great job out there.
Yep, absolutely. As Mick Claridge puts in a 144.827, and it pops him up into second place and on the front row as Lars Dawson comes across the line now to complete and do a 146.1. That puts him P4 on the grid currently.
Yeah, we see a very large gap from third place of Topi Kortniemi back to Lars Dawson. Topi is about half a second off your provisional pole sitter, but Lars Dawson 1.3 seconds back. This is on board with the driver we were talking about moments ago, Chris Murakami. He set the first time here in qualifying, so he was provisional pole sitter for a matter of moments before Olenek took that spot away. But he's currently sitting 9th in the on the charts, and he's got a little bit of work to do if he wants to improve, and he seems to be on a pretty fast lap here.
Yeah, pretty much. As Murakami's coming down to that tricky right-hander going downhill we were talking about, and it looks to be a pretty decent lap he's on at the moment, so I think he might be able to improve possibly.
Only a couple more corners to go through the final one of those, and now down to the line. His time will improve, but how much? By almost a full second. 0.7 of an improvement there for Chris Murakami. It's going to remain him, though, in the 8th position. So he's now sitting there, and he just gets bumped back down to 9th by John Olsen. Mick on his second qualifying lap seems to have lost control of his car, so that's coming out of the final corner as well. And he gets bumped back down to, Rob Olenek still on pole. Looks like he was going to improve, but there's only 4/100ths of a second now between Olenek and Claridge. Both of those drivers have completed both of their laps. Dave Cohen sets a 150, so he is at the bottom of the timing charts. Here's Colin. This is his first flying lap. Not sure that he will have too much time to get a second one in. I don't believe he'll have time to do that. He's going to come through the final corner, down this first about third of the straightaway, or half the straightaway or so, to the line. He sets 147.438, and that's good enough for the 10th position at the moment. Murakami out now of, I believe he's now just kind of getting some more practice, and he's completed both of the laps, so just getting as much time on the track as you can, because these track conditions change from session to session. It does not make it easy if you have your car set up for one condition or the other.
Yeah, as Watson Robert Plumley now, he's coming around the final few corners to complete his qualifying run. And currently 6th on the grid as actually Plumley decides to abandon the lap and dive into the pits.
Does not look like Plumley had much room to improve. He's sitting in the 6th position. Hideki Koivisto coming to the stripe. He might improve here by a considerable margin. Once again, almost a full second improvement for Hideki as he goes up to 14th position. So it looks like just about everybody has submitted their qualifying attempts. We've got 21 drivers here, and so far 18 have qualified. So only 3 of them did not submit a time. But right now we've got a second. Just let's go through our starting grid here for today's race. On the pole, no surprise, Rob Olenek. He's been there a couple times this season already, and he turns in a time of 144.782. Mick Claridge takes the second spot, and he's there with a 144.827. Topi Kortniemi in a familiar position at the front of the field as well. He's going to start third. Then Laust Olsen on the outside of row number 2. Pekka Risto and Robert Prumley on row number 4. And Ove Trungerade and John Olsen actually are on row number 4. And then Chris Murakami and Colin Bentley wrap up your top 10.
Starting in 11th is Michael Gingsinger with Andrew N alongside him in 12th. 13th is Emmanuel Pereira with Hideki Koivisto. And 14th, Donald Peake in 15th, Eugenio Massa 16th, Steve O'Malley 17th, 18th is Dave Cohen, and the rest of the drivers on the grid that did not set a time was Roman Paslowski in 19th, Robert Reynolds 20th, and Rowan Wallbank rounded out the grid.
The drivers taking to the grid here. A couple still waiting to slot in, including Laust Olsen and Robert Plumley. Everybody else seems to be just about set, but only a handful of drivers left to take their spots here on the starting grid. We've seen fairly clean starts at most of these races. The one exception, of course, was the opener at Monza Combined. We had some issues during the oval section, basically the second half of that oval there at Monza. So these guys very clean off the start and haven't caused too many issues that we've seen so far this season. And it's very comforting as a driver knowing that you've got the same guys around you that have been clean so far. But every takes to the grid now. We'll hear the revs start to rise, the lights come on, and we are green here at Twin Ring Motegi for the Grand Prix Legends week number 4. So far, very clean start, 3 wide further back in the pack. A little bit of contact there as Ove Trungerade gets bumped aside just the smallest amount by John Olsen, but they keep everything pointed in the right direction. And we're single file for the first 7 or 8 positions.
Yeah, it looks like it's been a relatively clean start with just some minor contact, like you say, Chad. But at the moment, Rob Ulrich's had a good start to the race, and he's currently leading from Mick Claridge second, and Topi Kortniemi in 3rd place, and then in 4th place we've got Laust Olsen, who's had a good start and carrying that form on from qualifying.
Yes, very great qualifying effort there from Laust Olsen. So far, for the most part, everything keeping fairly clean, single file through about the top 7 or 8 positions. You see the freight train of cars there, so it's even further back than that. These guys, though, absolutely flying here through lap number 1, as they only have 3 more corners left to go before they complete their opening lap. And there's that downhill braking zone that you were talking about. You can see how the track just falls away from you. You have to back up your braking point in every single car that you drive here. And it makes it very tricky to get that right. And being such a long straight, it kind of gives you a false sense of security on your brakes are going to cool off going that fast, and you've got some work to do. But as we complete lap number 1, it's still Rob Olenek on top, followed by Mick Claridge and Topi Kortniemi, your top 3. They got a little bit of a gap. We've seen this time and time again. Your top 3 kind of have about a 2 or 3 second gap back to the 4th place car. This time it's Laust. This is that battle for the 4th position just talking about. It's Laust Olsen there, and then that's Pekka Risto in that yellow machine. And then John Olsen, Plumley, Trungerade, and Murakami all battling for that 4th through 9th position. As Colin Bentley, about 3/4 of a second, Colin Bentley. This is up front with Ove Trungerade. And look at this. Just you can see how much these cars want to move. You swing all the way to the outside and then just hammer the throttle as Trungerade tries to get around Robert Plumley for the 7th spot.
Riding on board with Trungerade at the moment, and this is just behind Plumley. And Ove Trungerade, he seems to be struggling a little bit today. Normally we see him closer to the front, but at the moment he's currently an 8th, and is heading to the hairpin now, and this is the corner you've got to get right on the exit, because you want to try and carry that as much momentum as possible down the back straight. It looks like Trengray's got a run on Plumley. Will he try and make a move into this little downhill hairpin? No, he decides against it.
Yeah, he's taking it very easy, just kind of realizing how much time we have left in this race. He knows that he has the car to make up positions, especially on the long run. Looks like something has happened to Hideki Koivisto about a lap ago. So he falls one lap down. Unfortunately, he is in the pit lane. So unfortunate start to the race there for Hideki. Rob Olenek completes lap number 2, and he is still on top by about a second now, just pulling away. Andrew Ang coming off the final corner, runs it wide. Let's take a look at what happened to him. You see him there, yep, just absolutely missing the final corner. Unfortunately, we'll see if we can't get another look here as we ride now over the shoulder of Andrew Ang. Yep, just looks like one of the kind of the crest of the hill there in the middle of the final couple of corners upset the car and could not get it back. He had the thing saved, but unfortunately lost control of it, trying to rejoin the track in a safe manner.
Yeah, that's the thing with that grass as well. If you try and get back in the power, it can be a wee bit slippy. But back up at the front, it's still all it leading from Claridge and Cortinemi, and then these 3 guys are pretty much pulled away from the rest of the field. It looks like I thought there was a back marker there for a second, but it looks like these 3 guys are pretty much all by himself at the moment. And actually, Olenek, saying that, has managed to pull a bit of a gap, about 1.1 seconds.
This is a battle for the 6th position. This is John Olsen and Robert Plumley right there. They've got Ove Trengrade there as well. It's going to be side by side between Plumley and Trengrade. And going very late on the brakes. It's going to be Plumley getting into the back of Olsen. I think they're all able to keep in the right direction. And there's going to be trouble. That's John Olsen there spinning around. He was the car that got bumped from behind by Plumley. I'll have to see if there's any damage to that machine. So we're going to take a look, going way back down the long straightaway. So we'll have to see. Okay, so you set it up here, going down this long straight, down this hill. This is the long braking zone that we've been talking about. You're going to see the car of Robert Plumley, the 9 car. He's the one on the, just up against the curb there. He's going to get into Olsen. And then Olsen kind of just trying to feel out the car, loses the back end there. And fortunately, everybody's able to stay wide and avoid him spinning back onto the track.
Yeah, it looks like Olsen's back in the pits, but again, look back up at the front, looking at Mick Claridge. He's under attack from the Torpe Cortinemi, and Olenek is just pulling away from these guys behind him. So Olenek is pretty much just laughing at the moment and saying, "You keep scrapping away, guys. I'll just pull away and just leave you to it."
Yeah, I think we've seen this a couple times this season between, Claridge, Olenek, and Cortinemi, all 3 of these guys, knowing that each other has some very good pace. I wouldn't be surprised here to see Claridge and Cortinemi just kind of get into a drafting, tandem drafting situation, just kind of try to use that additional speed of the draft to catch back up as Olenek has to punch the hole through the air to try to get his car, not getting that advantage of the drafted cars around him.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at the lap comparisons from the last lap, at the moment it looks like Olenek is the quickest driver at the moment out of these 3, but Claridge, it seems to be. Claridge, we're normally used to seeing him getting in the zone and just pulling away, but this season so far, it's been a bit of a yo-yo effect season, I feel like.
Yeah, and the fastest lap of the race car has been turned by Olenek. He's got a 144.904. That's a couple of tenths faster. He's the only driver in that 144 bracket. This is further back. This is Robert Plumley. He is right on the back of Ove Trengrade. Trengrade has picked up one spot, before he started. He started 7th, currently in 6th. The biggest mover so far, Angelica Pavlovsky, started 19th, did not set a qualifying time, and is now currently all the way up into 8th position, so plus 11 spots there for Pawlowski.
Yep, it's good to see Roman back on track, and we're quite used to seeing him around in quite a few classic stuff. He's done quite a lot of racing in the Camel GT Championship, and also the Lotus 49, and also from time to time the Lotus 79, I believe. But it's good to see him back on track today, currently doing well and in the top 10 in 7th place.
About a quarter of the distance completed here so far, and I was talking about those front guys trying to use the draft to catch back up to Olenek, and he is continuing to pull the gap open. It's now 1.6 seconds. That's the 6 car there, Pawlowski, and puts us further back. Some of the guys we haven't talked about yet this race, Eugenio Massa trying to fight off Steve O'Malley. This is 13th and 14th there, and these guys did not have the pace in qualifying, but they're able to stick with each other. They put on a good battle for the last couple of laps. They're about 0.4 of a second or so apart, and Massa just holding on to that 13th spot for dear life right now.
Indeed, as they head into turn 1 and turn 2, and this is a tricky corner to get right as well, because it's kind of like a double apex, if you like, and you basically want to try and carry the momentum onto this straight as well. But O'Malley putting the pressure on Eugenio Massa at the moment, and but Massa is managing to hold on to the position at the moment.
On board here with Uwe Trengrade, trying to get around Pekka Risto, pick up another position there. Risto started 5th and currently running in 5th. Trengrade wants to change that and make up another spot. They've got a little bit of a buffer. They've got about 1.5 seconds or so up to Laust Olsen, and then a huge gap up to Courtney Emmy. And the fact that these front 3 have pulled away by such a large margin, but yet everybody else is still so very close together. Eugenio Massa seems to have gone off track, one of the drivers we were just talking about. So he's going to get things back rolling for him. Losing just a couple of spots there. But overall, these guys just doing a great job. Kind of tell your front 3 are just miles ahead, leagues ahead of everybody in these cars. But, I mean, that doesn't mean there's not talent throughout this field. Some guys like Laust Olsen and Pekka Risto doing a great job turning lap times in these cars. I know I never could.
Yeah, absolutely. That's found these cars as well. It's kind of, if you want to be quick with the car, you've got to be kind of aggressive but smooth at the same time. You've kind of got to be very careful as well as with your inputs and your throttle inputs, because this car doesn't have anything like big loads of downforce or traction control. It's all down to the driver, and at the moment it's pretty much this season so far, or pretty much in general, most of the guys up at the front seem to put a lot of time into this car.
Yeah, Trengrade getting really racy here behind Pekka Risto, and even he's got Pawlowski right there with the 2 of them, and they are fighting absolutely every single corner. Uwe Trengrade looks like he got 2 tires on the grass there, just holding on for dear life. Man, these 3 cars right here, put a blanket over them. They're getting cozy and familiar with one another. 7 laps complete now, working our way about to start lap number 8 with your leaders. But these guys are the real show to watch right now as they go down this long downhill braking zone. We've seen contact here before. Trengrade keeps it clean.
Yeah, absolutely. As he pulls out from behind, he just takes a wee sneaky look up just showing Risto that he's there as they head onto the start finish line now, and Rob Ulrich puts in the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:44.8. But as we ride on board, going across the line now, heading down to turn 1 and turn 2, Pawlowski is pretty much just watching these guys and seeing what they're up to. Maybe just planning what he's going to do in the closing stages, but at the moment, Pawlowski is just sitting behind, and doesn't seem to be too eager to get by at the moment.
Yeah, Pawlowski had a look on the inside of Trengrade through the penultimate corner, but did not get the move done. There we see Trengarade getting around Risto. Risto went just a little bit wide there and gave up both spots to both Trengarade and Pavlovsky. And that just shows how the smallest mistakes can cost you so much, especially at a track like this where no matter where you're at, you need to get the throttle quick or else you're going to lose a ton of time down these long straightaways.
Absolutely. At the moment, it's Trengarade at the front of this pack with Pavlovsky right behind him and Risto and then Plumley. So with battle fours, it looks like someone's making a move in the background. Is that Robert Plumley making a move up the inside of Pekka Risto? Yes, it is.
Yeah, an unfortunate lap, it seems, for Pekka Risto, losing 3 spots. So going now from 5th, going to drop all the way down to the 8th spot. So Robert Plumley has gotten that, and these guys have kind of thinned themselves out just a little bit for that battle between 5th and 9th. They've got about 5 seconds up the road now, all the way up to Colson. A little further back, more drivers we haven't really talked about yet today. This is a battle for 13th. It's Donald Peak holding off Emmanuel Pereira. They go down this long braking zone. It's going to be way too far back for Pereira to make a move, but if you can get the move done, if you can just brake just a little bit later, try to make up any time you can, all that's going to add up over the course of laps and laps. Pereira really wants to try to improve from the 14th position.
Yeah, right, as we ride on board from the rear of Donald Peak, looking back at Pereira heading down turn 1, and Pereira not close enough, and he can't really do anything as he closes up under braking, but still Donald manages to withhold, or basically keep cool under pressure, and Pereira is just basically trying to make a move but can't do anything at the moment.
Your leaders, by the way, just incurred their first lapped traffic of the race, and that was Robert Reynolds. They had a little bit of difficulty. I heard Robert come over the radio just a couple moments ago and just kind of trying to direct people on how to get around him and where he wants to be, keep things out of their way. They navigated them safely, but this is up front, the battle between Mick Claridge and Toby Courtniemi. They have lost Rob Olenek by about 2.5 seconds, so they have a large gap back from Olenek to Claridge. And this would be a huge finish for Mick Claridge. 3 races so far this season, 3 third-place finishes there for the driver of the number 2 Lotus 49 machine. Keeping the car fairly clean, it looks like. We've seen him charge through the field after a couple spins, both at Daytona as well as Monza. But here, I mean, you see that nose dip under braking. He picks up the throttle and is absolutely flying as he's under 2 seconds now from Rob Olenek.
Yeah, Olenek's pretty much just gone at this point, and Olenek's probably, well, I think anyway, it's been his best drive of the season so far, or in general in the Lotus 49. But Mick Claridge is it's unusual for him to be under pressure, but he's normally just kind of just all by himself. But Courtniemi as well, on the other hand, has absolutely improved massively this season so far. He's just been there and thereabouts, and actually took a win this season as well. So Toppy for sure has improved massively, and I think he could be one of those people to watch in the championship this season.
Yeah, it's been such a fun championship battle so far. Your winners have alternated wins. I believe Olenek wants to go back to back here. It sounds like some more issues from Robert Reynolds trying to just stay out of everybody's way. It's unfortunate to hear from him, but Olenek still pulling away. You see the gap there between himself and Mick Claridge. And Claridge and Courtniemi still within drafting range of each other at least, so they can try to work together, or at least Topi has a chance to improve from 3rd up to 2nd.
Yep.
A little further back here in the pack, the number 18 machine of Mott. Actually, looks like we're going to go to to Roman Pavlovsky and Ove Trengrade, the battle for 5th position. Pavlovsky just doing everything that he can to hold on there. As looks like, yeah, Pavlovsky just that last lap actually got by Trengrade. And Pecorino, we talked about losing 3 spots a couple laps ago, still sits in that 8th position. So Pecorino has some room to improve.
That was Trengrade.
That was Ove Trengrade. Wow. That's a big surprise. We haven't seen Trengrade make mistakes. Let's take a look at what happened here. Because all of a sudden we were just on board with another car and see it in the rest. Oh, just catching the right tires over the curb and upset the car just enough. It doesn't seem that there was any contact. Maybe just there, just a nudge. But that's just a very difficult spot to try to turn the car around with other cars flying at you.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate for Ruby. He just caught a bit of the grass there, and luckily he managed to just keep out the wall and get going again. So still in the race, but he's fallen back down to 10th position at the moment. And it's just unfortunate. He's having a great race there, and keeping Pavlovsky for company. But at the moment, he's fallen back. But Olenek again puts in another fastest lap of the race so far. So he's pretty much just putting in a dominant drive at the moment.
Yeah, this far into the race and still setting the fastest lap of the race. Currently working lap number 12. Olenek just absolutely flying. Courtney has joined him in the 144 bracket, but still, Toby's fastest lap is still considerably 2 tenths slower than Olenek. Looking further back, though, this is Robert Plumley once again, right on the back of Pecorino. Risto, you see, able to get the launch off the corner. Plumley fighting very hard just to use that draft to his advantage and catch back up.
Yep, as they head under the bridge now, and yeah, it's been a great battle between these two at the moment. And as they head up to the first of the twisty sections, they heads up to that back straight. And at the moment, it's Risto still holding the position in 6th, but Plumley is having a good drive in 7th, putting him under pressure. And I think Plumley might just be sitting there thinking what he's going to do towards the end of the race.
And the laps continue to tick down. And this has been such a fun battle to watch for the last, I'd say 6 or 7 laps, it feels like, between these two. Their 4-car train kind of fell apart. You see they're now 2 packs of 2, but still, Trengrade looks like he's about 8 seconds off of Bentley, so he's got some work to do to try to make up any of those positions that he lost back. But that was very fortunate for Trengrade not to lose any more than that. These guys still fighting very hard for one another. This is further back in the pack. Steve O'Malley trying to get around Roland Wallbank. That's the battle for the 15th spot. He just got that move done. So let's take a look at what just happened between these two on the replay.
Yeah, as they head under the bridge now, and I think it looks like O'Malley, or Wallbank rather, might have made a mistake, or maybe just might have let, I don't know, I think it was like O'Malley by.
Yeah, that looks like that might have been the case. Ran a little bit wide there at the corner, and just opened the door for O'Malley to improve. So that was for 15th spot. By the way, the issue for Hideki Koivisto, unfortunately for him, it was a network connection issue. So still every car that has started the race is running with that one exception. Andrew Ang took his repairs after contacting the wall. He's now 8 laps down, but up front, it's still Rob Olenek, 2 seconds now ahead of Mick Claridge, and Claridge has a little bit of a gap back to Courtney Emmy as well. So the front 3 fairly spread out at this point. And there you see all 3 of them as they head towards turn number 1.
Yep, as look at the last lap comparisons and say, yeah, Olenek and Claridge and pretty much being evenly matched the last lap. So they're still pushing each other as Rob Olenek clips a few cones and shoves them out the way for good measure.
I still would not want to be the person in charge of replacing the cones across all of these circuits on iRacing. Drivers very aggressive and using every bit of racetrack that they are afforded, even if there's a cone there or not. We've seen them cause issues before, but doesn't seem to affect these cars too much. As man, these guys are absolutely flying around this this very long 2-3 mile road course here in Motegi, Japan.
Yeah, as you see the top three in the same picture together now, even though they're spread out a little bit, still relatively close. But I think at this moment in time, as we head towards the end of the race, I think Olenek just maintaining that gap and just he's not overdriving or pushing too much. He's just kind of maintaining the gap and making sure that Claridge doesn't close up to him as they head down under the bridge now, heading through the final few corners. And at the moment, Rob Olenek is just doing what he needs to do.
The biggest thing for some of these guys is just damage control in terms of how far you are off the cars around you. And the reason for that is if somebody, of course, makes a mistake, you want to be able to capitalize. So, still Olenek, then Claridge and Courtney Emmett, your top three. And the gap back to fourth is still growing. These guys are just flying out there. Across the lane to 5 to go. This is Laust Olsen with Pawlowski there with him. That's the battle for the fourth spot. These guys they've kind of spread out, and then they catch one another, and then spread out again, and they're back to it once again. That's Laust Olsen in the yellow machine up in front there. As now we're on board with Pawlowski, trying to get any bit of drafting off, staying right in the tire tracks of Laust Olsen, and see if he can't make up the spot here as laps start to wind down here this morning in Motegi, Japan.
Yeah, and it's been a good comeback by Pawlowski. At the moment, he's in fifth, just behind Laust Olsen in fourth. And Laust, he was by himself at one point, and not under pressure. But it looks like Pawlowski's just been putting his foot down and pushing like crazy to close the gap down, and he managed to do that. He closes right up the braking on Koivisto and just about runs into the back of him.
Yeah, very, very close to making contact there. Fortunate enough not to do it. Man, these guys just having a ton of fun out there. They're making it look easy. I know I mentioned earlier I couldn't turn these lap times, but the biggest thing for these guys, it seems the morning start time is currently 7:03 virtual standard time. Makes for a cooler track temperature, only about 21 Celsius. That's about 73 or so Fahrenheit. These cooler temperatures really favor these cars. It's to their benefit because you're not absolutely sliding down all around. So track temperature right there, 69 degrees. So these guys doing a very nice job of just absolutely making it easy. Oh, there you see, trying to make the move. Pawlowski trying to get done on the inside in turn number 1 and gets clear. So finally making the move after being so patient. There you see Pawlowski getting around Laust Olsen, and what a climb. You see it there, starting 21st all the way up into 4th position. Absolutely your biggest mover of the race.
Yeah, Pawlowski's just been absolutely on it and getting through the field, and he's benefited from some people who have made the mistakes, but still he's managed to keep it on track, and that move into turn 1 on Olsen, fantastic. As the battle back up at the front actually for the lead is actually getting really close. The gap between Olenek and Claridge was about 1.7 to 1.8 seconds, but Olenek actually Claridge closed the gap down, and that's the last lap comparisons at the bottom of the screen. So Claridge is absolutely on a mission.
Yeah, about half a second faster last lap was Claridge. That was about 0.6 slower for Olenek than what he has been running throughout this race. So tires starting, I think, to fall away from Olenek. These are very durable tires. Fall off does still impact them, but maybe not as much as we might see on other cars. But these guys just flying out there, and Claridge showing everything he can to try to get the first win of the season, as Mick Claridge sets a new fastest lap of the race, 144.733, and that puts him right there on Olenek, as we are now working 3 laps to go. Gonna look to the outside. Can't get it done there. Try the crossover move. 2 tires onto the inside, grass over the curb, crossover, can't get that one done either.
Oh, this is fantastic stuff. And it looked like it was away at one point and just pretty much wasn't being challenged as a back marker moves out of the way a bit slowly, but keeps out of the way nevertheless. But Mick Claridge has just closed the gap down to Olenek like crazy. And I think don't be surprised if you see Claridge trying to make a move into the hairpin heading onto this back straight.
Yeah, whether it's coming onto the back straight or going off of it, both of those are very tricky corners to get right. You need to set up one to get the other one perfect, and that downhill braking zone, I think, is where we might see Mick try to make the move.
Yep, as Claridge has got a great exit, and they've got 2 or 3 back markers in front of them of having Olenek to contend with, as one of the back marker gets out of the way straight away. So good heads up driving, heading down to the hairpin, and Claridge gets a bit sketchy under braking, heading into the hairpin and going downhill. And the final few corners, if Claridge can get a good exit, he might be able to make a move into turn 1.
This is a similar setup to what we saw Pavlovsky, how he got around Laust Olsen. But Rob Olenek, your winner last week, has led every lap so far here today, but now 2 times left to go around Twin Ring Motegi, and these guys aren't going to give each other an inch of room for the next 2 or 3.5 minutes or so. I expect to see some very defensive lines here from Rob Olenek. Just trying to do everything he can to hold on to a lead. He's worked so hard to hold on to this entire race. But Mick Claridge, we talked to him the last 3 weeks as the 3rd place finisher. He said he's been very hungry to get his first win of the season. We'll have to see if he can do it, because Olenek has lost a little bit of pace, and Claridge still has every little bit of fight left in him here with about 1.5 laps left.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, I'm wondering if Olenek might have got a slowdown at some point, or maybe just really ran wide off track, because that gap came down massively. But as Claridge gets a great exit headed onto the back straight, but he's not going to be close enough.
Yeah, the amount that Claridge kind of closes up under braking through that hairpin as he looks to the outside here, not going to be close enough. Can he get the crossover done? Can't get it there either, but the amount that they closed up through the hairpin, it looked like Robbo almost trying to not quite brake check him, but the speed differential there was enough to delay Mick Claridge getting on the power. So they come and take the white flag, 1 lap to go here for these guys, and it's been so much fun. Oh, and almost some contact there very late on the brakes was Claridge. You see how hard he wants to get this win.
Absolutely, as Claridge is doing everything to try and get by now. He closes right up. He's very good on the brakes as Claridge wipes out some cones, but he's very good on the brakes. He seems to close up really massively, as they've got another back marker ahead of them. But I think Claridge is running out of time, he's running out of chances, and where will he make the move? My best bet is going to be the head on that back straight, heading down to that downhill right-hander.
Yeah, Claridge very early on the brakes that last corner, so he's able to pick up the throttle just a little bit better. This is where we've seen, just a couple corners now is where we've seen Claridge have the best opportunity. It's in this upcoming hairpin. This is where he's had the momentum the last couple of times. There's a back marker there that gets out of the way. Have to see where he decides to make the move. He's right there under braking. The mid-corner speed for Claridge is typically much better in that corner, but he can't get it done. And with 2 corners left to go, when is the move going to come? Where is it going to come? You see him just sticking right in the tire tracks, using every bit of slipstream he possibly can.
Absolutely. As it runs a little bit wide, but manages to hold it as it come up to the final 3 corners now. This is going to be an absolutely close finish.
We've seen some fantastic finishes so far. Off the final corner, Rob Olenek, about a 3-car length lead across the line. And Olenek gets it by 0.2 of a second over Mick Claridge. A fantastic battle there at the end. Further back, this is Chris Murakami just holding on to the 8th spot from Colin Bentley, and Ove Trengrade, after his spin, has worked his way right back into it as well. A couple more corners to go for these guys. They're just having a blast out there as they go through the penultimate corner, and now the final right-hander. And it's going to be taking the 8th spot is Chris Murakami, then Bentley and Trengrade wrapping up your top 10. Michael Grisinger, a driver we haven't said his name too much yet here today, but he's trying to get around Dave Cohen there for the 11th spot. 3 or 4 car lengths between them, and Cohen just doing everything he can to hold on to that spot. That basically is the halfway point of the field, the 11th place is, and Dave Cohen looks like is going to hold on to that spot, so fantastic finish there for Dave Cohen, car number 16, and we've seen some fantastic battles every single week. It was very interesting to watch Mick Claridge there run down Rob Olenek, but here in the Grand Prix Legends, you never know what's going to happen, and this time Olenek wins going wire to wire. Let's step aside here and be right back with some interviews as well as your full results here from the Grand Prix Legends at Twin Ring Motegi. A fantastic battle from green to checkered here from Twin Ring Motegi in the Grand Prix Legends. Rob Olenek, winner for the third time this season, and this time over a different second place finisher, Mick Claridge, by just over a tenth of a second. Topi Courtniemi, your other driver to have won a race this season, and last week's runner-up, finishes third, so top three have been the same for every race, just in a different order so far. Roman Pavlovsky, 29 seconds back, takes the fourth spot after getting around Laus Olsen with about 5 to go. And then Robert Plumley, Pecaristo, Chris Murakami running a Rob Olenek setup to take the 8th position. Then Colin Bentley and Ove Trengrade wrap up your top 10.
Finishing in 11th after starting 18th was Dave Cohen with Michael Gingsinger in 12th. Emmanuel Pereira in 13th, 15th or 14th rather was Donald Peake. Steve O'Malley in 15th, or 16th going to Eugenio Massa, Roland Wallbank in 17th. And the 18th was John Olsen, Robert Reynolds in 19th. And the retirements from the race were Andrew Eng and Hideki Koivisto.
Yeah, unfortunate to see the connection issues there for Koivisto, but joins now in the booth once again, Rob Olenek. I mean, what do we need to get you up here? You need a soda, maybe a recliner or something?
Definitely water. I'm sweating my tail off. That was a fun race. It went from it was very important. I lost the start. I got the pole in last night's race, and I didn't have a great start, and Mick got me. And it's actually really hard to pass here, even though that back straight's really long. It's hard to get a good exit and get by the guy on it. So I knew being in the lead was going to be very important. And the beginning of the race went really well. And I was putting in great laps, driving really good. And I think I had the gap up around 2 seconds. And then I like kind of screwed up a little on the brakes in a few spots, and the rear got a little loose. And then all of a sudden your mind takes over, and now you can't drive well anymore. Like everywhere I was screwing up. But luckily it was hard to pass. And I knew I just needed to stay in front of him and not make any big mistakes. And it worked out in the end, but it was a real fun race.
Yeah, it was very interesting watching Mick kind of hunt you down there. He turned his fastest lap very late in the race and was able to get right up your gearbox. But talk about what it's like defending so hard against a driver that has so much pace.
I knew I had to have a great drive. I needed to drive really well because he was going to. Like, even he had Topi behind him, and I'm sure Topi was giving him a hard time and, messing up his corners a little bit. And I was trying to get the gap up to take advantage of that. And but I just knew that at some point he was going to be there, and it was going to be really tough to defend him. I went super defensive really early on the back straight in the last lap. I think I did it somewhere else too, but he's a great driver. That's why he's got, I don't know what it is, something like 18 championships or something nuts. I'm amazed that I beat him, actually.
It was a very fantastic race and a very fun battle to watch after we saw you talked about pull out to that early lead. Man, it was so much fun to watch you and all of these guys week in and week out. Next week, we go to Imola. What are your thoughts there?
I like it. It seems like it's been a while since we've been there in the 49, but it's a really fun technical track. It's kind of like this week where you got a good amount of like hairpins, and it suits my driving style well. I like trail braking a lot and controlling the turning with my left foot, and it should be a really fun race. It's pretty difficult in a few areas, and it'll take a little while to get up to speed, but it should be really fun. Should be some good battles too.
I can barely turn with my hands. You're talking about turning with your feet, man. That's very skilled if you can do that. But no, another fantastic finish for you. 3 wins in 4 races. Who do you have to thank today?
Same as usual, you guys and 30 Torque and the Grand Prix Legends community.
Well, hey, congratulations on another win, and we'll hope to see you next week at Imola.
Okay, thanks. See you guys.
That's Rob Olenek, your winner once again, and looks like we've got someone that just had me looking over my shoulder for the McKenzie boys all week, but Mick Claridge up here in the booth. Ryan, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, Mick, finishing in second, and he was in a battle with Topi Cortinemi, and
Hold on. You don't have to take it, Ryan. You know, you don't have to fight over me that much. You know, I know am I in demand or not? Or, you know, I can just go if you want.
That's
Sorry.
cool.
Sorry, mate.
I'll take you. I don't want the McKenzie boys kicking my door down. But anyway, back to the serious stuff. Yeah, that you were having a good battle with Topi, Mick, and it looked like at one point Rob was just away and off into the distance, but towards the end, you managed to close him back down.
He managed to let me close him back down, I think, was what happened. I don't know what he said in his interview. I didn't hear it, but he just told me in the chat that he just started doubting his ability to drive, you know, and it was quite funny because it was just at that point, the gap seemed to be equal between the three of us. And I remember I kept messing up turn 2, the left-hander, kept going over that inside curb and just not getting a good exit onto that little straight after the bigger left-hander. And I was just getting so annoyed with that corner. And then I started nailing it a couple of times. And but the gap was too big, and I just thought, you know, I haven't had a second place this season, so I'll probably be happy with that. And as soon as I actually thought that, you know, and as soon as I thought it, Rob slowed down. And I thought, okay, let's try and push a bit again and see what happens, you know. And I think Toppy's set must have died, or I don't know what happened to him, whether he got bought by a back marker or something like that. But yeah, brilliant couple of laps at the end there, wasn't it? I really enjoyed those last 2 laps.
Yeah, that was a fantastic battle between you and Rob. I mean, towards the end, it looked like you were getting really racy, trying to get by him and just kind of showing that you were there. But Motegi, kind of. It's a good track, but that final sector, it just looked like you just couldn't do anything about Rob, but you couldn't get by. Was it just a case of being close but not being able to do anything?
Well, it was quite funny because as I was chasing him down in the last 2 laps, I was just sort of showing the car off to the side, you know, putting my car in his mirror. And I was nowhere near trying to get a pass, you know, and he was covering it. So I don't know how good he thought I was going to be on the brakes into some of those corners on the last 2 laps, or last lap. And then, so that literally made me laugh. I sort of giggled when he did that because I know how much he wants to win, you know, in this car. He loves winning in this car, you know. And then when we went down the back straight, I tried it again, and I actually lost the back end, and I nearly lost it for real because I was looking in the mirror myself. And so that was that finished, really. And it was just a case of me hoping he'd mess up in the last turn, you know, that last right-hander under the bridge. Because he was well over onto the right-hand side, and I just thought, well, he probably hasn't practiced that line before. Hopefully he'll miss his brake marker, you know. He did a little bit, but I think I did as well, and I actually lost the back end. So, yeah, so it was just follow him over the last couple of corners and then over the line. But, yeah, really good. I actually thought there might be a little bit of a chance if he sort of dips a wheel on the grass on the left coming out the last corner. But, yeah, no, you know, and fair play to him. I was just telling him in the chat before we left, he drove really good at the first sort of 2/3 of the race. I don't think I've ever seen him drive that good, to be honest with you. He just made no mistakes at the start whatsoever and nailed the start off the line and got into the apex in turn 1. Brilliant drive.
Indeed. And looking ahead to Imola next week, what's your expectations for next week?
Yeah, well, this week's been tough because it's been really hard to set the car up. I was messing around with all sorts of stuff, and I didn't really get a good sort of understanding of it until this morning. When we don't come here that much, so I'm hoping that's the case of why it's been like that this week, you know. But yeah, Imola should be good next week. I like the fact that they've got the long straight there now, so that'll be good. There's just enough draft to keep up. If you're quite close in lap times, you know, you can just get it down into turn 1. Pretty technical track though, ain't it? You know, pretty tough one, especially in this car, especially coming off that whatever that left-hander is, and then you go up the hill. That's a nightmare trying to get the power down. So yeah, looking forward to it.
And before we let you go, Mick, anyone that you want to give a quick shout out to?
Oh man, I got a shout out to 3 special guys who've made a massive change this season. The McKenzie boys. They've actually started their own business now. They're only selling one product. It's a baseball bat. So if you want a McKenzie Boys baseball bat, go to www.mackenzieboys.co.uk for all your baseball bat needs. And that's what they've told me to tell you.
That's good to know. But anyway, again, congratulations on second place, Mick, and looking forward to seeing you on track next week.
Cheers, mate. See you next week.
That was your second place finisher of Mick Claridge, and fortunately do not have Topi to have an interview with your third place finisher here today. What a fantastic race here from Japan as we look forward to Imola next week. That about wraps up our broadcast. We have to, of course, give thanks to the companies that provide the hardware and software for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the entire squad today, Ryan, Sean, Dougie, I'm Chad. And if you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, don't forget to go ahead and check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. The link is in the description below as well. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment of the action here on GSRC. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.